The jury that's determining Bill Cosby's fate in his sexual assault case called it a day without coming to a verdict yesterday following 4 hours, 20 minutes of deliberations. The panel was excused after a 13-hour day that included a 6-minute defense case and 5 hours of closing arguments from both sides. Texas attorney Quentin Brogdon joins us to talk about what's taking place in this case. Mr. Brogdon, thank you for your time.
Good afternoon, Ernie. Thanks for having me on.
Why in the world would the defense only put on a 6-minute defense, especially in this kind of a high-profile case?
Well, their choices were to call Cosby himself, and if they did that, he was going to be cross-examined vigorously. He had said he was not going to testify, which many lawyers thought was a mistake to signal, in the beginning you're not going to testify. And then later, as the case progressed, there were rumblings that maybe he would testify. Ultimately, they didn't put him on. The state has the burden of proof, so they appear to have made the determination that the risks of having him testify and be cross-examined, outweighed any benefit. They did try, according to Cosby's spokesperson, who gave a news conference on the courthouse steps just this afternoon, to bring a defense witness who allegedly was going to say that the accuser, Andrea Constant, basically fabricated this so she could file a civil suit, get money, go to school, and open up a business. But the judge did not allow them to call that witness. At least that's Cosby's spokesperson's story, or spin on the story, I guess.
Why would the judge say no to something like that?
There are a lot of reasons. The judge makes an analysis as to whether something is credible, whether it's relevant to the issues, and each judge makes a gut call and based on the law, and they have some discretion as to whether to allow a witness to testify, and if so, what the witness is going to be allowed to testify about. I don't know firsthand why the judge excluded this witness, or if in fact this witness really was going to say those things. That's simply what Cosby's spokesperson, Andrew Wyatt, claims the witness was going to say.
I know when I read the story that they were playing tape from a civil case in which Cosby, in essence, admitted everything, I thought that might make this an open and shut case, but apparently, given the jury situation, that's not what's going on in the jury room.
Well, it's interesting. Cosby had two versions of what happened with Andrea Constant. In his police statement, he said that he gave her Benadryl and that she was awake. But then in his deposition, his civil deposition in her civil case, which settled, over 10 years ago, he said that he gave women Quaaludes and that they were unconscious. And part of the reason he did that was to have sex with these women. So that is what prompted the release of that deposition testimony in 2015, the initiation of this criminal case against Cosby. They had been looking at one over 10 years ago, but it was shut down. His lawyers claim it was shut down because there wasn't enough evidence. The prosecution in this newer case that the jury's deliberating on right now said it was shut down because the DA shut it down while it was still in the process of going forward. It wasn't shut down because of any concern about Constant's credibility.
Do you think that his celebrity will play into the verdict?
No doubt. I mean, people have scrutinized the O.J. verdict now ever since it came out in this first criminal case, and there's just no question that when you have somebody of Cosby's status, and his iconic status is, the TV dad everybody knows wearing the sweater, it's going to be difficult for jurors to disregard that. I'm not saying they cannot do that. I'm not saying they cannot make a decision based only on the evidence they have before them, but it's going to be difficult, no question. I think it would be difficult for any of us sitting on a jury to sit in judgment of Bill Cosby.
I wonder if his ID as America's dad at one point will work for him or against him. People don't like hypocrites.
Sure, absolutely. There's no question it can be a double-edged sword here.
Yeah.
His status is the big elephant in the room, and it could hurt him or it could help him or it could do a little of both in different respects. So no question it's a big deal.
If they do come back with a not guilty verdict in this particular case, would that undermine the credibility of the accuser or maybe the other accusers as well?
Well, the other accusers weren't here except for one. A woman named Kelly Johnson testified about a similar drug-induced molestation, if you want to call it that, in 1996.
Right.
So all the other accusers aren't here on trial. Cosby's attorneys have attacked the credibility of Constand. There's no question. They pointed out inconsistencies in the date of the assault. That's changed over the years. Her testimony about whether she was ever alone with him before or after the date of the assault, that's changed over the years. She waited a year to report this. There's no question about that. And she had 72 phone calls with him after the assault. And she says that's because he was a powerful trustee at Temple, and she was merely responding to his questions and concerns. But all of those things have been laid before the jury. So the jury could decide, this really is, whether the jury sees it this way or not, a he said, she said case. We don't have any forensic evidence. It wouldn't really matter because he's not claiming it did not occur. He's just saying it was consensual, or he did say to the police back in 2005. So it's really going to hinge greatly on her credibility, no question about it. If they come back in favor of him or acquit him, I think you can fairly infer that they had concerns about her credibility.
This is Texas attorney Quentin Brogdon. You'll find him at Crain Lewis, Crain Lewis.com. Quentin, thank you so much for your time and the information. It's an interesting case. I'm going to be fascinated to see what the jury comes back with. I appreciate it.